welcome to Energy Nexus. Thank you so much for joining us once again. My name is Johnny Konza, and on this platform, we're here to discuss ideas, investments, and partnerships that are shaping Namibia's energy future. Now, we are, of course, finding ourselves at the Namibia International Energy Conference 2026, and of course, being held under the theme Road to First Oil and Beyond. Joining us for this episode is Chevron's country manager for Namibia, of course, looking at the West Africa frontier. That's Beatrice Bienvenu, of course, here to just give us her take on the conference and more. Beatrice, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks, John. It's good to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Well, the conference, as you know, is centered around the road to first oil and beyond. And of course, fostering partnerships, investments, and growth. From Chevron's perspective, across frontier markets, what does beyond first oil actually truly require to achieve long-term success?
Thank you for the question, John. As you mentioned, I am country manager for Chevron here in Namibia.
Yeah.
And we entered Namibia in 2022, and we have 2 licenses here in this country.
Yeah.
And it's a really good point that you make, because we look at a number of different criteria when we're looking to enter a new frontier country. And all of these considerations were very favorable in Namibia, which is what really contributed to our decision to entering Namibia.
Yeah.
So it always starts with the geology, right? Do we think there is a positive hydrocarbon system? And then we really look at the government in a lot of different factors, such as, are there competitive fiscal terms? Are we confident that there is contract sanctity? Is there a stable legal environment? Do we have enabling energy policy?
Yeah.
So all of these considerations are looked at from around the world. How does the country compare to other jurisdictions around the world? And in Namibia, it was very favorable.
Yeah.
So we were very excited to re-enter the country just a couple years ago.
Yeah. 2022 is not too long ago, really, and I think it must have been a smoother process for you then to, engage the government of Namibia to also just have discussions on how Chevron can start its operations. Would you describe then that whole process of engagement with the policymakers of Namibia to then officially get those licenses and start operating? How was that process like for Chevron?
So you may have noticed I said Chevron re-entered Namibia in 2022. We actually have a long history with this country.
Of course.
Chevron and Texaco.
I think it's about 60 years.
In the 1970s, entered the country and drilled the Kudu discovery. At the time, it was not commercial, and so we weren't able to develop it. And so we exited. But then we came back in the 90s, tried again, and now we're here for the 3rd time. Hopefully, 3rd time is the charm, and we will have a discovery. We are looking forward to drilling a second exploration well here in Namibia in the Orange Basin on our PEL 90 license. Is something I've been talking a bit about over the last couple days. In terms of re-entering, again, the government is looking for investment. There's such a promising exploration potential here in Namibia.
Yeah.
And so we always have very productive conversations with them. And you've seen as well, there are a number of other companies and international companies that have entered Namibia. And so the government has signaled and stated their commitment to international investment and maintaining a competitive environment.
Yeah, Chevron operates in some of the most complex and emerging hydrocarbon regions. What differentiates a frontier market that succeeds, from one that struggles actually to unlock value? Of course, such huge experience that Chevron has, but just give us that experience, and also looking into Namibia's also being a frontier market. What is the experience really, or what is the difference between the frontier market that succeeds from one that actually struggles to unlock its value?
So this goes back to some of the items I mentioned before, right? The government, and that Namibia has done very well, has worked to maintain competitiveness across the fiscal environment, the legal environment, the policy environment. And I think showing their willingness to have collaborative and constructive discussions and lead those between the government and companies, right? So again, we can have these discussions to make sure that our contracts and our exploration programs will benefit all Namibians and you can have a competitive environment for the company and a very positive environment for the country.
The relationship that you've built with the local companies here in Namibia, just explain to us how that went for Namibia. Of course, looking into what Namibia has termed the local content policy or local upliftment policy, as the president mentioned yesterday.
Yeah.
How is that relationship like going, and to make not only Chevron's dream possible, but of course Namibia's dream a reality when it comes to Namibians benefiting really from their resources?
No, absolutely. I mean, Chevron is aligned with the government's objective of having a local content policy that benefits Namibians, right?
Yep.
Skills building, or yes, and capacity building,
Yep.
skills transfer. These are all very important things, and we are involved in a number of initiatives through Petrofund, for
Yeah,
example, through other scholarships and training programs. We had a supplemental program with Petrofund, where we sent 13 students to TVET training programs. Again, that's key to help building the capacity of Namibians so they can contribute to the future in the oil and gas industry. We also get involved with the community.
Yeah.
So we're also very proud of our social investment projects that will benefit all Namibians. So for example, we have an emergency food support program that we have in partnership with the Office of the Vice President, and it provides highly nutritious meals to families in vulnerable and marginalized communities. So we really try to, even though we're early in our exploration program, we look to benefit the communities in which we serve and help develop the skills of Namibians.
Quite generous of Chevron to do that. Quite great work. Let's talk about how Chevron is actually rethinking its frontier strategy in Africa, especially when it comes to balancing, speed to production, but of course with a main focus on long-term sustainability.
I would say that we are expanding our exploration footprint in Africa as a whole. Africa has a really strong, what we call working hydrocarbon system.
Right.
And so we always, again, look at that as a first priority. We're always interested in new opportunities. And again, Namibia ranks very favorably. You mentioned speed. One thing that we were very proud of is the speed at which we had between our entry in 2022 and the drilling of our first exploration well in 2024. And really the government enabled that by making sure that all of the necessary approvals and permits went through so that we could have a very quick execution of a first exploration well.
From your experience, of course, operating as a West Africa, frontier, of course, representative for Chevron, what do you think Namibia really can learn from some of those countries in the West African diaspora, especially looking at where Namibia finds itself right now, a pivotal moment of course, pushing and trying to go deep as far as possible and as fast as possible to extract and of course make sure that the oil industries, of course, is established. What can Namibia learn from the West African region?
The government of Namibia has taken a wonderful, proactive approach to not only learn from West African countries, but countries around the world for what best practices could possibly be. They have traveled to Guyana, Norway, Angola, many places to talk to governments, talk to companies, engage, and identify best practices. Many experts at this conference have talked about best practices from many jurisdictions. I think some of the ones that I heard that really resonated were having a phased approach for local content, one that develops and becomes or develops with the industry as you move from exploration through to production. Also, the importance of the speedy decision making to enable a really fast pace to continue to move toward exploration, final investment decision, and production. And also the importance of incentives, right? Incentivizing certain behavior as opposed to mandating it.
We've just spoken about, I think, what are some of the focus areas, strong focus areas, but what about some of the things Namibia can avoid to, of course, make mistakes, when it comes to the countries that or rather what they should learn from other countries who already also have operated in this space, in this sector?
Yeah, great question, John.
Yeah.
As you said, international IOCs or international oil companies or IOCs have experiences from around the world. And the government, again, has done a really great job of proactively engaging with these IOCs to discuss what are some best practices and what are things that maybe they should avoid, right? It's been a really strong collaboration, and I think that this will enable the government and oil companies to deliver for Namibia and benefit all Namibians. One example is on the local content policy. The government had a series of very positive engagements with the industry to understand what are some of the what is some feedback, right? And they were able to incorporate some of this feedback into the local content policy. So that's just a really positive example of government collaboration and discussions with the industry, and that will be key to develop solutions that will benefit everyone.
Partnerships, of course, are very central and key at early stage success. What does a high functioning partnership ecosystem looks like, in practical terms, with what Chevron has, have is in terms of experience, not only in West Africa, but just in Namibia, even over the past years?
Yeah. Well, yesterday, Her Excellency mentioned trust. That's such an important part of any relationship. And again, continued dialogue. And we've been very happy to see that with this government. They're always willing to engage, discuss, and that's just key to progressing towards first oil.
Yeah. Looking at the relationship that Chevron has built now, entering Namibia as a frontier market, what do you think? What do you look at in terms of what you see ahead? For Namibia's frontier market, contributing to global energy security, perhaps let's say over the next decade.
That's a broad question.
Yeah.
So I think to start off with immediate action, so again, we're really looking forward to our second exploration well in the second half of this year in the Orange Basin. Drilling those exploration wells is the first step towards success. So oil, as you know, is a declining resource, right? You have to keep drilling to maintain production and provide that energy to the world. I think another really positive opportunity is to lift the acreage leasing moratorium, right? So if we can get more acreage available in Namibia, then more companies will be able to look at more opportunities, again, drill more exploration wells and have more opportunities to bring production online in the future. So in 10 years, I hope to see that Namibia has a flourishing system of multiple discoveries, multiple projects that are online producing oil. Oil is a global market, right? And the energy demands of Africa in particular are always growing. So we need all solutions, and oil is one of those very promising ones.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, but I think I just want to ask you a last question in terms of your experience at the conference thus far over the past 3 days. What are some of perhaps one of your reflections that you would like to share with us? An experience, of course, having networked with so many people, I'm sure. What is your experience about the conference 2026?
So this conference has been incredible. I really want to give recognition to Selma and the whole Rich Africa team. This is such an impressive group of people, really wonderful and impactful sessions, a great convener of everyone who has something to say about oil and gas in Namibia and contribute to the future of this industry and this country. So I've made a lot of new connections. I've been able to talk to all of the existing experts. I've learned a lot from, again, hearing these panels, bringing in some international expertise. Her Excellency's speech was really impactful. Her commitment to the oil and gas industry in this country and her commitment to making sure that decisions are made at pace and the industry is supported so that production can come online and ultimately benefit the people of Namibia is really powerful.
Absolutely. Well, Beatrice, thank you so much for making the time to speak to us.
Thank you.